Over the past weekend, we had the first tournament for Regulation E and it was won by none other than James Beck. For those of you who do not know who James is, he's a 4-time regional champion, a 1-time international champion, and twice has he finished in the top 4 at the Pokemon World Championships. He's also a fellow YouTuber that makes some of the best content in the VGC community, not to mention he's also part of the Beast Coast team alongside Wolf Glick and Aaron Cybertron Zeng, just to name a few. And today we're going to be looking at the team he used to win the Peoria regional championships here, alongside some of the other top performing teams. But boys, before we jump into that, I just want to say a quick apologies. I have been kind of AFK the last couple of days, but your boy has been moving houses. As you can see here, kind of got a new, little new setup going here. We've got the webcams on and shit. Yeah, it's good. Obviously, it's still a work in progress. I've only been, set up for basically half a day now. But yeah, let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of the webcam, the lights, all that good stuff. I've got a lot of work to do still, but we're slowly improving, yeah, boys. But anyway, boys, let's take a look at James Beck's team here now. James' team is really, really interesting for a couple of reasons, right? Let me zoom in just a little bit. That's a little too much. Bang. So, looking at this team here, right? So James was one of many players here that actually brought the water form of Ogerpon, which is pretty interesting because coming into the event, I definitely thought that the fire version was going to be the best version just because of how strong offensively it is. But the water version was definitely the most versatile of the group, right? I think defensively, as a follow me mon, it was clearly better. Water absorbs really good into a mon like Urshifu, which is still pretty damn good. And yeah, just its versatility really was up there. The main real takeaway I had from James' team in particular was if you have a look at this team, right, he's got power whip over things like Woodhammer, Horn Leech, Grassy Glide. Now, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Horn Leech on this mon. I think it's one of those moves where yeah, the regeneration's nice, but I feel like he doesn't kill anything. Like for example, you don't kill Water Urshifu with Horn Leech, but with Woodhammer you can. And obviously in this case he's gone with the Power Whip. Now, Power Whip's very interesting because you have that, I think it's a 15% chance to miss. But obviously you don't have the recoil, which is pretty important. And look, James obviously won the event, so props to him for that. I personally probably would have run Woodhammer because I don't want to miss 15% of the time, but look, it worked out for him. We also see here a choice band of Hisuian Arcanine. I'll quickly touch on this one. I think Hisuian Arcanine is a really good meta adaptation right now. I think it's fantastic into a lot of things, especially into opposing Tornadus teams. I think when you're running a mon like Tornadus, having your own Hisuian Arcanine with choice band is really good because there's not many mons that really want to sit next to a Tornadus and also eat a Rock Slide from this mon. And that can also really deal with the only one you can think of off the top of your head is something like say a Landorus. But if they lead Landorus, you lead Urshifu Rapid Strike for example, they're not gonna have a good time, right? Golden Go, quickly want to touch on this one here too. The Terra Dragon's a really cool adaptation. Obviously it's fantastic in the metagame right now. It's really good into all the Ogerpon forms outside of the Rock one, but unfortunately we have not seen too much of the Rock Ogerpon in this event. Tornadus, pretty standard. Again, got the Dragon Terra. I also didn't touch on it. Golden Go here is actually Nasty Plot, which I do think is really interesting. I personally love the Choice Specs variant a lot, but I think when you are running Choice Band, Assault Vest, and the Choice Scuff here, it sometimes is obviously better to just go for the lefties in a team like this because really only 2 of your mons can protect itself. But again, obviously, props to James, he managed to win the whole thing. Iron Hands here, pretty standard set, Terra Graph, and then just a Scarf Water Urshifu. I did think Water Urshifu in particular was going to drop off quite a bit, simply because when you look at what Urshifu does, and especially with how good things like Water Ogerpon are, for example, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, maybe it's going to fall off, but no, Urshifu is still really good. It's not a top 3 mon like it was in the in Regulation D, but it's still one of the best mons in the metagame. But yeah, just a really, really cool team here by James. Really, the main things I want to touch on here though were Power Whip, really crazy, Terra Dragon, really good. And yeah, that's the main things really from James's team here. Next, we'll take a look at Luke's team here. Now, Luke's team was, interesting in a sense, right? So he has the Fire Ogerpon here, which again, I thought was pretty good. He does have the Horn Leech, which I think on the Fire one's probably fine just because you get that +1 attack a lot of the time. This is a mon that doesn't need to Terra, but it loves to Terra because if you get that +1 attack, and then all of a sudden you've got basically an adaptability, Flare Blitz without recoil. It's pretty damn strong, especially because obviously you +1 attack as well. So yeah, Hearthflame Ogerpon still really, really good. Scarflander is very solid right now, one of the best ones in the metagame. I do think it was the second most played mon at the event as well, but we'll touch on the pick rates at the end. Choice Specs, Fluttermane here, really good mon. This is kind of his anti-Trick Room mon, I guess. I'm not personally a huge fan of running things like Trick Room on a Choice Spec set, but obviously this team is incredibly weak into Trick Room, so that's very important, I guess, that he has a way to at least reverse Trick Room, because if Trick Room goes up against this team, you're in a lot of trouble. Especially when, on a team like this with, Rain Dance and Choice Specs, I would assume this Fluttermane's quite slow and bulky. So yeah, I would expect that to, basically be there hey, I'm going to live in Ursaluna's Blood Moon. or, you know, potentially like a, you know, a hyper voice and then just reverse Trick Room. Pretty standard set here on Tornadus. The Terra is very interesting, but outside of that, you know, the 4 moves are, you know, pretty common. King Gambit was one of the biggest surprises of this event, I want to say. Like, I think if you were someone who was following the online tours, you kind of knew Gambit was on the rise. But yeah, Gambit's like been a good mon that has been like really good for the entirety of PSV. But his biggest issue was how good Urshifu was in Regulation D. You know, Urshifu being on over 50% of teams was really hard for this mon because it doesn't have a way to, you know, really damage either version of it. And then on top of that too, they both just threaten a one-shot with CC. And even if it goes for, you know, some Terra, you know, basically it doesn't want to take the Surging Strikes. And unless it's like Terra Dark in this case, or like Terra Fairy, it doesn't want to take the Wicked Blow either. So Gambit back on the rise is good to see. But it is pretty scary because I personally suck at using that mon and I absolutely hate playing against it. But we do see the black glasses here. Obviously, I do think if he was actually Dreadplate, he probably would have won this event, just because obviously Dreadplate's a lot cooler. But look, SD, Double Dark, pretty standard right now on this mon. And then finally, to wrap it up here, we have a Scarf Shifu. Shifu's still good, guys. If you thought it was dead, don't worry, it's not dead. Shifu is still really freaking good. And then here we have Tang Shilang's team. I just butchered his name, goddamn. Tang Shilang, I apologize for the pronunciation. Thing with Tang's team here though, really cool. Iron Bundle, it's back, my guy. I was saying a lot in Regulation D, I was like, hey, Iron Bundle looks really good here. I'm shocked teams aren't playing it. You know, if you have a look at this, for example, Landorus is on like every team, right? Landorus does not want to take a freeze dry. You know, even if it's Terra Flying, it does not want to take a freeze dry. Rillabooms are everywhere. Ogre-Pawns are everywhere. I think the rise of Ogre-Pawn Water is really what's going to make Bundle really good, because this mon just threatens a one-shot always. Even if you Terra Water, like obviously you can take the freeze dry, but you're not really taking a double up. Speed, you know, like secondary speed control with things like Icy Wind is also really, really important, especially, you know, with, you know, Scarf Landorus being on every other team. Yeah, so I think Iron Bundle is a really freaking good mon. It's also pretty physically bulky too, so you can, you know, make sure it lives like a, you know, a Grassy Glide coming from Rillabooms. But yeah, going down the team here, Rillaboom, you know, one of the very standard fake out mons. He does actually have 2 fake out mons on this team, which I do think is really cool. I did actually test a bit in Regulation D with both Rillaboom and Iron Hand, so to see, you know, it do pretty good here. It's good to see. And then obviously Fire Ogre-Pawn, this mon's pretty busted. I do think the Grassy Glide, you know, when paired with Rillaboom is really good, especially with SD, right? If you can get a +2 Grassy Glide off, and then like Terra for a +3, Ogre-Pawn's gonna like absolutely sweep through a lot of teams. Iron Hand standard, I'm not going to touch on it. Same with Lando, pretty standard. And then Heatran, I don't think I touched on Heatran on the other 2 teams. I don't think it was on either of them. But Heatran's on the rise. Terra Fairy, Life Orb Heatran did really good at this event. Obviously, it's just a fantastic mon. It walls out most of the Urshifus. I shouldn't say it walls it out, sorry. It takes most of them on pretty well. It can obviously eat the grass attacks. If the Fire one Terra is kind of hit you with the Fire move either, which is really good. It kind of deters like one of the best Terra users in the format from using its Terra. And obviously it doesn't have a great matchup into the water version. But I do think going for like the Terra Fairy is really important, especially, you know, with things like Iron Hands being so highly used, and the Urshifu still being really good. You just kind of want to make sure that you're not dying to just like CCs and whatnot. But yeah, really cool team there. I do believe he actually built this team with Justin Tang as well. So yeah, really cool. I love that team. Again, I'm a huge fan of Bundle. I love seeing it there. And then Jeremy's team here, finally to round out the top 4. Main thing here is we see another Ogre-Pawn here. Water Ogre-Pawn with Follow Me is just really good, I think. Again, he's got the Horn Leech. I personally would have liked to have seen him go for, you know, one of the high damaging ones, whether that be Power Whip or the Woodhammer. But yeah, obviously, you know, the guy got top 4, so like I can't, you know, I can't really talk. You know, he's had way better performances than I have. We see here, this is the Dark Dreadplate set. This is what I was talking about. This is the superior King Gambit set. Dreadplate is just way better than Black Glasses. The stats are the exact same. They're both 1.2 times boosting, but Dreadplate is just way cooler. Speed Booster Fluttermane, I'm a massive fan of this. He does actually have the Flutterfish here. This is one of my favorite combos to run right now. Exact set I have actually been running. He's dropped the Shadow Ball. He's got the Terra Fairy for that little bit of extra damage when you need it, and then the Choice Specs, you know, Chiyu. This is a Scooteezy team if I've ever seen it. The only difference is obviously I don't play King Gambit. But yeah, obviously Icy Wind, you know, double Fairy Stab next to Chiyu is really, really good. Choice Specs, Terra Ghost. We'll touch on the Terras later as well, but Terra Ghost did look like it was the most dominant Chiyu Terra. Obviously, you know, for obvious reasons, obviously Fake Out's pretty damn good, and this mon does not want to get faked out. But yeah, for such a high usage mon like Chiyu, just to be like running such a defensive Terra, it's interesting to see. You know, it's like I expected it because I play a lot of it. But yeah, so really cool to see there. And then I guess one other cool thing with this team as well, though, is we do see King Gambit paired up with the Water Ogre-Pawn as like the redirection mon. I do think Gambit on a team like this really does want to get his SD off at least once and then potentially sweep through with like sucker punches. And that's why I think Waterpawn is so good, is like you have the option to redirect, but you also have the option just to put out a lot of damage. Because like, I know I say it a lot, but like Ivy Cudgel is the same as like Wave Crash in terms of damage, but it doesn't have a drawback, right? Like you get mons like, you know, for example, like Basque Legion, who don't really hit that hard. Like base 113 attacks not that good, but when you get like Adamant Max and then you have like Wave Crash, you do so much damage even without like adaptability or rain. So having something like Ivy Cudgel with no drawback is like absolutely insane. But really, I guess, like, what were the main takeaways I had from the top 4 at least, right? So they're the top 4 teams at this event. What were the main things I personally took away from it? So first thing here is there was 2 fire Ogre Pawns, 2 water Ogre Pawns. Basically, both Ogre Pawns are good guys. The mon's broken, you know, spoiler alert, as you see it here, it's on all top 8 teams. There's 5 fires there, there's 3 waters there. It's freaking good. Also though, 2 water Urshifus here, both in the top 2, 2 in the top 4. Still really good to see. You know, Urshifu Rapid Strike has not fallen off, guys. It is still really good. What else do we see here? Iron Hands plus Landorus. You know, I've been putting it on like basically every team. Obviously, you know, we see it here in 3rd and 4th. And you know, you do eventually see it, you know, further down if you start looking at more teams. But to me, these just feel like the best glue ones of the format. You know, Rillaboom is like pretty similar to Iron Hands, but it just doesn't have the offensive, you know, power that, you know, Iron Hands does. And then on top of that as well, like Rillaboom's speed tier is not like anything like super crazy. Like, yeah, sure, it can outspeed things like Heatran, for example, which, you know, your Iron Hands is like never gonna do. But Iron Hands is just so fat. This mod just sits there, it eats hits. Like, if you don't like intimidate spam it, it's just gonna sit there and like drain punch its health back up all game. It doesn't really deal with itself, and I really do think like the best way to take on Iron Hands is Landorus, and that's why I think they're so good on like their teams, right? Like you never want to get into a hands versus hands mirror, so you know, just having like a, you know, for example, a Lando there that can, you know, resist the fighting moves and also be immune to the electric moves is really good. It is also why I do think we will actually see an uptick in, you know, Ice Punch on Iron Hands as well, because I do think Landorus is like the best way to deal with that mon. What else, boys? What else? Fluttermane's still good. Obviously this mon doesn't fall off. It's still like, I think it was the 3rd most used mon at this event. So we are seeing it like kind of drop off like the top usage, but obviously the mon's still really good. We see, you know, 2 there in the top 4. So it's good to see. And then finally, Iron Bundle's back, boys. You know, I said it when we're looking at Tank's team. Bundle's really good, boys. If you have a look at these teams, it can threaten a one-shot here, can threaten a one-shot here, can threaten a one-shot here, can threaten a one-shot here. You know, for the top, you know, for the mons on the best team, it can threaten one-shots on. If this guy goes Terrify, he can get one shot. He can one-shot this, he can one-shot this, potentially one-shot the Torn Eye, depending on the stats. Same here, pump this, freeze dry this. Obviously, you know, it is itself, but technically you could freeze dry it. And then you could also, you know, freeze dry the Lando. Same here, you could freeze dry this, pump this, freeze dry this. It's just really good. It feels like almost every team, there is like 3 mons that Iron Bundle is like really good into. And because of that, I do think Bundle is definitely worth at least testing out for a lot of teams. Especially if you want a water type and you feel like, you know, Ogre Pawn and Urshifu Rapid in particular don't fit your team. I do think Bundle is a really, really good 3rd option there. But anyway, sliding down to like, I guess, 5 through 8 here. I'll kind of like try to speed through these because I don't want to be here for like too long. But we have Justin's team here. Now, this is one of the most unique teams we saw at the entire event. I kind of just want to like go back because I hate how it blanks out like Harvey's team here. Fire Pawn, obviously really good. Anti-Trick Room being the Faraffa. I think Giraffe is like a mon I'm really interested in. I kind of want to test it out a lot more, myself at least. I think this mon's really good. It's a fantastic anti-Trick Room mon, and it can also pump out a lot of damage too. Obviously, you know, he's got it here as a Trick Room setter. Doesn't have the, you know, the Imprison on it, but obviously on a team like this, you kind of don't really care about the Imprison. Obviously, you're running your own Blood Moon or Saluna, you got your own Clefairy, you got your Okidogi, which probably doesn't have much speed investment. And then I would guess these 2 are probably closer to max, just, you know, for balanced mirrors. But yeah, Faraffa is a fantastic mon. I think with Trick Room plus Nasty Plot, this mon is really cool. Okidogi, it's cool to see it actually get a top 8 placement at the first event. I think Guard Dog's really good. Like, Guard Dog plus Ice Punch is actually really good into Landorus. This mon's like biggest issue in that matchup though is like, you're kind of forced to Terra. You really don't want to eat a Stomping Tantrum. Like, you can take it, but you don't want to take it, if you know what I mean. Especially also like a Terraflying Terra Blast. Like, you don't want to take a Terraflying Terra Blast. But good news is though, this mon can actually, I don't know if you always threaten a one-shot. I think it depends on the builds. I think if you're like Adamant Max and they're like Jolly or Adamant Max Speed Max Attack, you can threaten a one-shot with Ice Punch. I'd have to double check the calcs on that though. But then I guess, yeah, the final thing with this team is like Blood Moon or Saluna, boys. This mon's good. This mon's really good. I think it had 2 top 8 placements. Clefairy is a fantastic support next to it, keeping it healthy. Like, this mon's so fat, and like its biggest issue, right, is it's like poor special defense. but there's like no special attackers in the format. Yeah, like sure, you got Fluttermane, you got Chiyu. Like if we go back to here, like Gold's there, Flutter, I mean Tran and Bundle. Like it feels like each team has like at most like 2 special attackers, and it's like, you know, at least 4 physical attackers. But yeah, Justin had a really cool team there. Junix, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's got the guy, you know, Hisuian Arcanine. I've been on that guy, you know, saying he's really good. Same thing, Banded Terrafaria. I think that is the set right now, guys. It's really good. You know, Specs Fluttermane, cool to see it. Obviously, you know, he's got the guy Gojo here. You know, we love Gojo. Yeah. Ogerpon here as well. Like I personally really love the Ogerpon Fire plus Rillaboom combo. I do think Water can also work on a team like this, but obviously, you know, you see here he's got the Gastro. I guess, you know, when you want a Water type, but you know you've already got your Ogerpon, and you kind of don't want Urshifu. I guess Gastro is the next guy. It can obviously, you know, eat the water attacks coming out of it. For me, Gastro, like the biggest issue is Ogerpon's on every team, and Ogerpon always carries a grass move. So it's like if you bring this into an Ogerpon just to click Terra, it feels bad, especially because like I feel like there's a lot of ones that just pressure it pretty heavily. But look, I guess if you can sit there and spam out Yawns, the one's pretty damn good. But yeah, look, just also actually I think this is our first Tailwind Sunny Day team with Ogerpon as well, which is pretty cool. Especially too when obviously, you know, you've got things like the Flare Blitz and the what I would assuming is a special attack boosting Specs Fluttermane. So yeah, really, really cool team there. You know, I do love a little bit of Manual Sun. I'm not going to lie, boys. I'm not going to freaking lie. Riley's team, this is one of the only Power Knights we really saw for the entire like top 8, I think. Actually, it was the only top one. But with the Urshi Power Knight, one of my favorite cores from, you know, Regulation D. This core is really, really damn good. We also see it here paired up with the Amoonguss, guys. Amoonguss is still good. Its usage was not that high at this event, but it is still, like, I mean, I shouldn't say it's not that high. It's still higher than a lot of other mons. But Amoonguss is still good, guys. Don't sleep on it. I expect this one to get some results over the next month. Obviously, Gambit, you know, he's back. He's good. He's got the Figgy Berry. This mon, I think, is that 3? Is that 3 in the top 8? 1, 2. Yeah, 3 Gambits in the top 8, boys. He's good. Well, yeah, 3. Yeah, he's good mon, boys. Good mon. Urshi Power Knight, obviously, you know what that does. And Fire Ogerpon. These 4 here actually feel like such an, like, incredibly strong offensive, like, 4. Especially with, like, Chienpao buffing up these 3. It is kind of interesting actually to see no choice band here, especially because, like, you know, he has options for protect on this team. But yeah, obviously, you know, opted to go AV. I'm sure there's a reason why. Maybe he just felt like D-Knight needed a bit more bulk. But yeah, really cool team here by Riley. You know, part of me wants to say it's good to see this core here, but like I also don't want to ever have to play up against it because it's really hard to play into. And then finally, to round things out, Dewobbuffet, the guy, you know, with an absolutely bonkers team. I love this. You know, Water Ogerpon again, guys. It's there. It's paired up with the Blood Moon Ursaluna, so you got some redirection for it. But this team, dude, Weakness Policy, Blood Moon Ursaluna, paired up with Dusclops with a Violite. So obviously a Violite, but Brick Break. This is obviously your Trick Room setup, and then you just Brick Break your Ursaluna. You got Terra Normal +2. And then the best part about that, boys, if you can set up the Ursaluna, you kind of just switch in this guy right here. Get the Chiyu in, and then the Blood Moon Ursaluna is a nuke. Yeah, and like the worst part too is like, yeah, sure, Chiyu's like slow under Trick Room, but it's like, you know, are you gonna like hit that, or are you gonna stop the Blood Moon Ursaluna from sweeping your team? Yeah, so pretty scary. He's got the Gloomons here, obviously, you know, Iron Hands is fantastic in Trick Room. Water Ogerpon, I would assume this is just a bulky, no speed Ogerpon, probably like 76 adamant, max HP, like maybe 4 points in speed, and then the rest is just into bulk. But yeah, this is like a really, really cool take on a Trick Room team. 2 Blood Moon Ursalunas in the top 8 as well, which is really cool. But yeah, I kind of love this team. You know, the whole Brick Break into weakness policy is really sick. Not to mention, you know, there are things like Ninetales running around, you know, obviously screens with Grimstyle and whatnot running around. So having a way to break, you know, screens is obviously really, really, really important. And then I guess, guys, the main takeaways I have from the top 8 here, Trick Room's good. We see, I think, what was it? I think it was like 2 Trick Rooms. Actually, in saying that everything is kind of good, I think we see 3 Tailwind teams there. We see 3 Balance teams. We see 2 Trick Room teams. Yeah, boys, they're all good. Trick Room's good, Tailwind's good, Balance is good. They're all freaking good. Ogerpon obviously is on every freaking team here, boys. We see 3 Waters, 5 Fires, dude. It's, yeah, guys, it's just good. I mean, look, there's a lot of teams here. I could go through them. I feel like I kind of just like went pretty in depth on, you know, at least the top 8 teams here, kind of, you know, looking at. I'm talking a bit about synergy. If you guys want, obviously, check it out here. We see so many water ogre pawns, dude. Like, this is actually the crazy thing to me is like, yeah, like fire dominates the top 8, but then if you like look at the top 16, it's water, baby. Like, there's like 6 fires in the top 8, and then like the rest of waters outside of like this one team. Which is like crazy, by the way, Peter. This team's wild, dude. Screamtail. He's got Staraptor. I'm guessing that's Rapid. A single strike. Okay. Yeah, this is a crazy, crazy Trick Room team, boys. Actually, I'm going to have a quick glance at this one just because my boy Staraptor. Yeah, Choice Scarf, Final Gambit, Intimidate. Yeah. Cool team, dude. Cool team. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. We see some screen teams. We're talking about Brick Break being good. We see Gambit everywhere. Obviously, Brick Break pretty decent into that as well. But there was actually one team in particular I wanted to touch on. Oh, we actually see the Stone Ogre pawn here too, which is actually pretty nice. But where's my guy? Here he is, Andy Anderson, boys. What a banger team this is. Look at this. Tell me how someone brings this to a regional and then also like day 2s it. Like, that's the crazy thing to me. So, he's got my guy Breloom. I'm a huge fan of Breloom. I love this mon. Are these like Salamence, like my favorite pseudo legendary Pokemon? Yes, he's Tailwind, set of Clear Amulet with Intimidate. Pretty decent. He pulls out the Stone Ogre pawn. Not many guys have the balls to do that. Speed Booster Fluttermane, I love it. And then it's like Life Orb, King Gambit, very interesting. Gambit obviously is, it's good. And then to wrap things out, Slowbro, just oblivious Slowbro. That's his Trick Room setup, boys. Yeah, doesn't care about Fake Out, doesn't have Protect on this one. Yeah, really, really interesting team by Andy there, boys. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that team was like pretty cracked. But I guess just to round things out here, boys, that's teams. If you want, like, obviously go look at them. But I wanted to take a look at guys over here at VGC data, yeah. Thanks to them, this is, I believe, the top 128 teams. It actually is, it kind of says it right here. I don't know if you guys can see that properly. Yeah, you just can. Yeah, top 128 teams here. And we see Iron Hand wins the most used mod at this event with 75 picks. Really interesting thing too. Now I kind of knew this coming into the event, but Terrafire was on the rise. There's a lot of mods that are kind of adapted to Terrafire. Obviously, Iron Hands is one of them. We do see here as well, if you have a look at the top, it is the most picked Terra. Obviously, it's always going to be a bit skewed just because obviously Fire Ogre Pawn is always going to be Terrafire. Same with Water always being Terra Water. Those two are just pretty damn high usage there. So yeah, we see Iron Hands, the most used one here. We see basically the standard Terras here. Dragon and Steel are definitely really interesting. Fairy as well. Like, seeing 6 Terra Fairies is crazy. I'm blanking off the top of my head why it would be that. Can't think of it. But yeah, really, really cool there. We see the Landos come out here. Terra Fire, Terra Water, 2 just defensive Terras, but for the most part, also 2 Terra Rocks. But for the most part, Terra Flying with Choice Scarf was the play. Fluttermane being 98% Terra Fairy was actually crazy to me. We do see 1 Terra Steel here as well, but like coming into the format, I was like, sure, like, nah, Terra Fairy is going to be done. You need a defensive Terra. It's going to be Grass. It's going to be Water, potentially even Terra Dragon. But in my testing, I was like, you know what? Terra Fairy is him. And I see this event here, Terra Fairy is him. Everyone's running Terra Fairy, so cool to see that. Fluttermane's still the 3rd most picked one here. Technically, Ogre Pawn would be the most picked one here with 83 picks. But unfortunately, it is split up into 4 different variants here. But we do see Ogre Pawn, Fire, and Water rounding out the top 5 here, which is really cool. Terrafire, Rillaboom being the 6th most played mon. This is kind of surprising to me that Rillaboom is so high, but it also pairs incredibly well with the Ogre Pawns. But in saying that, every team is going to have like, kind of two grass types, which is interesting. But Terrafire, Ogre Pawn, really good. A couple of grasses. This one's interesting to me. I'm guessing there's some calc where like you need Terra Grass, Grassy Glide, probably to one-shot some things like Fluttermane, or even potentially Terra Water Ogre Pawn as well. We see Rapid Strike is still really good. It's the 7th most picked mon. Chien Pao actually dropping to 8 is so crazy to me because I think he was 6 in Reg D, and I was like, dude, Chien Pao is like better than 6, and he's dropped to 8. Crazy. But Chien Pao, Chi-Yu both, neck and neck here in usage, which is good to see. I like to see a bit of balance here. Both mons though love Terra Ghost, so good to see. We see 1 Terra Flying, which is crazy. 1 Terra Grass, which is probably like the only guy who ran Nasty Plot at the entire event. Tornado is still getting a lot of play here. Its Terras are really mixed. It is probably the most mixed bag in terms of like the lower picked ones. King Gambit on the rise up here. We do see Terra Dark being the primary one though. +2, Terra Dark Sucker Punches are crazy. Iron Bundle, I did not know its picks was this much. 21 picks. That's like what, 1 in every 6 teams had an Iron Bundle. That's crazy. Good to see though. I've been saying for ages, Bundle's good. 3 ices, 8 goes. I'm guessing those ices are probably on snow, I would say. Like probably like some snow teams there. But yeah, just to round out the final top 15, I think this is here. Heatran, I'm not surprised this mon's really good. Hisuian Arcanine, I think this mon's really good anti-meta. In a very similar spot to our Iron Bundle, if you ask me, really good into what's good. Amoonguss, guys, you know, sure, its usage dropped a little bit, but Amoonguss is always going to be good. Terrafire, Terra Water are the best Terras. In my opinion, Terrafire is better. I'm actually shocked Terra Water got played more. It could just because that's what people are used to, though. Cresselia's usage dropping is also crazy to me. I think, if anything, this mon stonks it up, because it's one of like the few defensive mons that can actually just eat an attack from the Ogre Pawns pretty well. Giraffe getting such high play as well is actually really good to see. I'm personally looking at Giraffe myself, so seeing it get so much play does actually make me feel a bit more confident in that pick. And then finally here, Sinister, you know, one of the other new mons. Terrafire is the other Terra for it, obviously. I think this mon's really cool. Hospitality, sick. Even like Heatproof with setup is also really cool. But yeah, guys, you know, that's the Peoria. God, I can't say it. Peoria, is it the Peoria regional? I think that's how you say it. That's the Peoria regional. You know, again, shout out to James Beck, the guy. You know, I can't wait to, you know, basically catch up on, you know, any content he's put out. But as I've said, you know, your boy's been really busy. Basically have not been on the PC for like 4 days, so yeah, I'm excited to actually, you know, sit down and watch some of these games and all that good stuff, boys. But anyway, you know, I've been here rambling for almost half an hour at this point, so yeah, if you could obviously like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff means the world to me. We're almost at 2,500 subs, boys. We're almost a quarter of the way to 10k, so if you could hit the subscribe button, you'd probably really appreciate it. Yeah, that's gonna be me for this one, boys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.